The Highest in the Room is proud to be sponsored and lit by the CWCBExpo. In its 10th year, the show has helped build a legalized cannabis industry and is a leading forum for the entire supply chain, seed to sale. At their events, many mergers, acquisitions, and deals are signed because of the exposure they provide to participating companies, sponsors, and brands. The CWCBExpo continues to support and stand shoulder to shoulder with the brave, courageous, and committed who have helped shape the cannabis industry, evolving through many phases of stigma, volatility, and legalization.
This is KymB reporting from the weed capital of the world, New York City. After almost 100 years of prohibition, the government has finally loosened the stranglehold on cannabis. As we enter a new industry of innovation, technology, and greed, there are some cannabis professionals who have pushed through the doors of opportunity. I talk to them unfiltered and uncut. We get the real story from the highest in the room. So I'm excited to have Christine Ianuzzi, the hostess with the mostest, CEO of the CWCBExpo. Christine, we made it. 2024, check. Here it is, post 10th anniversary of the CWCBExpo. It was wildly amazing.
It was a really great show. I couldn't have been happier with the outcome, with the turnout, the exhibitors, the conference, the keynote, the workshops. I mean, it just goes on. I think that it was an event that was very anticipated after getting past 2023 and seeing all of the opportunities with what might happen with rescheduling. There certainly are some benefits there. We obviously want descheduling, but it was a show that was filled with optimism heading into it. The exhibitors, the attendees, the speakers, it was a very optimistic atmosphere, very energetic. It was packed with new exhibitors, new business owners. We had many returning exhibitors as well. The stories and the history that was made there, the history that the attendees, the speakers, the exhibitors are making as we go forward is going to show itself now. It's starting to unfold.
Yeah, and some of the deals and collaborations that were made on the showroom floor are things that we're going to see in the years to come. And I want to just shout out how opportunists were walking in the front door and right to the Tribe Tokes booth, which was, we really Tribe Tokes put a lot of time and effort into, creating a booth that was really inviting when people walked into the door. And when people walked into my booth as like kind of the first, setting the stage, the first booth that was there, people were ready to make deals, to make money, to network. And so let's kind of just recap, our keynote speaker this year was the founder of Raw, Josh Kesselman. He did a great keynote. He had a lot of great things to say. And one of my favorite things that he said was, don't have a small business and go out there and try to raise money if your small business isn't successful. Because if your small business isn't successful and you go out there and you raise money, you're just going to have a big business that owes a lot of money that's not successful. And I thought that really, kind of hit people in the right place to be like, I can start out as a small business. I can expand into a bigger business, but I've got to make sure that I got my shit right with the small business first. What was your thoughts on having Raw represented on the showroom floor?
Well, I think that first off, I want to thank Josh and Kim Prince and Sadie Thompson for introducing me to Josh Kesselman and for getting them getting raw to participate. Josh Kesselman, I've said this before in our lead up podcast to the show. He's somebody in the business that gives back. He is an extremely philanthropic business owner. He has a lot of projects that are humanitarian efforts. And I'm really happy that we had somebody like that on our platform, on our stage. Josh is fun. He's energetic. He's a businessman. He's an inventor. He's all those things. I think one of the most, everything he said was interesting. He's fun. He came to all of the events. He came to every day. He came back for the 2 days, and he was at the B2B Bash. One of the things that was very interesting that he said was how to get into an IPO status. He talked at length with Tim Seymour about that and expanding his business, and perhaps how do you enrich your business by making it available to others, have like an IPO. And he really was, you can see the ideas and the brilliance coming out of him on stage discussing this as a possibility for any business and just in general in cannabis business. So I think that he's a very good example of what's to come for mainstreaming of cannabis. This is truly, his inventions, his devices, his rolling paper is everywhere, right? It's global, and the raw product is just an enormous name, and it's used and it's sought after. However, the possibility of mainstreaming, I mean, he's essentially a mainstream product. He's everywhere. So this is a very important element, and having Josh with his brilliance and his experience be part of our platform, to me personally, was just wonderful. But for business, for the business minds and the business exposure that people wanted to get at the conference, this was really hit the mark. It was a home run. And I think the fun aspects of it clearly were there. He participated in the ribbon cutting with Tim Seymour and the CEO of Javits, Alan Steele. It was just fun. And it was probably the most fun opening that I've ever experienced. He had his mascot there, it was just so much fun and enjoyable. And that's just indicative of how far cannabis has come as far as mainstreaming itself and continuing progress.
Absolutely. We also had a really great industry update with Cy Scott from Headset. What were some of the takeaways that you had after he gave a really pronounced industry update?
So I really loved his final slide. I love New York, but I loved everything. Cy Scott, the founder and CEO of Headset, he always does a fabulous job of providing an industry update and hitting head on what's current, what to expect, what the implications are. And what came out of his presentation were a few things. First off, New York stands to be a plus $4 billion industry as in the next few years. It clearly will be. Michigan is ahead of New York, and they have more stores open. So that came out in the first few slides from Cy's presentation, which many of us already knew about that. But New York State is going to be very close to that pretty soon. Just this month, I think in the end of June, we're going to be hitting 200 million in sales since the inception of adult legalization in New York State. With 1 month's time, and right after Cy's presentation was the fireside chat with Tremaine Wright, and there was a lot of positive facts that were coming out about that. But about what Cy was talking about and about the future of New York State and the cannabis industry that they're rebuilding and reorganizing, which is great. But I think Cy Scott gave a wonderful approach on, and these couple of highlights are very important that I have to highlight. Women make up a very big amount of the sales in New York State, right? Woohoo! When I discussed this after this with Mary, my wife, she said, "Well, most women are in charge of sales in the house." I said, "Yes, that's true." I said, "And I guess cannabis is no different." So, millennials, women. The pre-roll is the product of choice. All this came out in Cy's presentations, and I do get to look at many of these presentations ahead of time, but I do love to listen to them because it really is fascinating to hear them presented live.
And this is so cliche for me to say, but knowledge is power. And when you know what's going on in your industry, it helps you make the decisions that you, as an entrepreneur or as a professional, as a C-suite or as a manager, and having the data is so important. And I did notice that after, the conference, that some more data came out that, New Yorkers are spending 50% more on cannabis in a single transaction than anywhere else in the country, which is also super impressive. And really that's optimal, right? We want the units per transaction and the order value to be high. That's how people make money. And so I definitely, know that there's a lot of, shit that is not good in the cannabis industry, but and specifically in New York, but there are so many points and there's so much data that is the light at the end of the tunnel. Now, you mentioned the fireside chat with Tremaine. Kristen Jordan did a fantastic job. That was, obviously one of my favorite parts. Definitely my favorite panel, besides the OQs and OGs we'll get to in a little bit. But tell me a little bit about what your thoughts are in the conversation between Tremaine and Kristen.
So I think Kristen Jordan, she's quite a fan of our expo, but we're a fan of each other. She's a hard worker. She's been in events probably as long as we have been. She did a wonderful job of conducting the fireside chat with Tremaine Wright, chair of the Cannabis Control Board. I think many of the things that were highlighted there are very important. Number one, since then, you can see that when Tremaine talked about that they listen, they have people's concerns, they know they need to issue more licenses and do them promptly and deal with all kinds of issues that are concerning the license holders, the applicants, the illicit shops. She commented on that. Since then, a lot has happened at the OCM. And among them, it's very interesting. We were at the right time, right? Our conference really highlighted rescheduling topics throughout the entire conference. It highlighted the issues that need to be addressed in New York City, New York State. It addressed the United States and the other markets. And even this fireside chat commented because of whether it was the moderators, the fireside chat interviewers like Kristen, it touched upon different states where cannabis is now a thing. Kentucky, they're doing a medical cannabis program. Okay, they're going to be starting that. Michigan was highlighted, okay, in several of the conversations. But where Chair Wright really hit the mark, I think, was saying that she's got everybody's email if they don't get tossed aside. That was very clear. She publicized her email address to all that was in the room. There was a packed room. Chair Wright always packs them in, and so does Kristen. I think what came out post-conference was what Chair Wright commented on. that the illicit market was going to be eradicated, it's going to be addressed. And local authorities now had the right and the power, the authority to go in and get rid of them and close them down. And what's happened? Sales are up now for the legal shops, right? We're almost at, I believe, 140, we're approaching 140, maybe a little more, of legal dispensaries across New York State, New York City. This is big. And they've recognized a sales increase since these shops have been shuttered.
Yeah, and they've shut down over 100 shops. So still a long way to go, but
I think they'll get to it, and they'll get to it pretty quickly.
But it's also setting the standard for people that are thinking about opening shops, that you don't want to spend all this money, you're going to get shut down. So I think it's a good message. And I think Kristen and Tremaine did a great job delivering critical information to our community in a packed room. And there's nothing more powerful than a couple of women chopping it up. You know, it's just, there's something really amazing about that. The energy after that was really kind of explosive. So,
it was.
And also, there's some new information that if you call the OCM and you press 1, and then they prompt you and you press 1 again, that you get a live person. They've upped the ante and they brought in more resources. So they have licensed candidate specialists and people on hand to actually verbally speak to you on a real person level. So you can call the OCM and speak to somebody about whatever information that you're looking for. So we're starting to see some upward ticking movement, not just in sales, but in shuttering the illegal shops and in resources in the OCM. Kathy Hochul, is down with cannabis, and she wants to make it a fair and equitable program. So fingers crossed. Speaking of women, speaking of more women, my favorite place to be, besides my own booth, is in the Women's Pavilion. Mm-hmm. And this year we've had, a lot of new participants and some that we know and love and recognize. I had a really good time at the Her Highness booth. A couple of women in the cannabis industry, really hustling. So it was great to see Allison from Her Highness. But we also had Matawana, which is a women of color Brooklyn dispensary that recently hit the scene and is doing amazing things. Christine, tell me a little bit about what goes behind the Women's Pavilion and what makes it so friggin' spectacular every single year.
So thanks for bringing that up. First off, thank you to our sponsors, Proteus 420, who is supporting the Women's Pavilion, a sponsor of that, and also Atmosis Science and Dr. Sandra Shen. So Dawn Morris and her husband David from Proteus 420 were big sponsors of the Women's Pavilion, and so was Dr. Sandra Shen from Atmosis Science. And I have to tell you, the Women's Pavilion is an opportunity for new businesses that are women-owned, not just hire women, but that just have like a woman on staff. It's a new business that would benefit from being in a major trade show. Many of these, if not all of them, when they started and are exhibiting in our show, was the first one they ever exhibited in. They didn't have enough resources of any kind, whether it was funding, staffing, to do a major trade show ever, but we made it possible through the sponsorships and through our own advocacy and support. So the way that this works is we actively seek out many of these female-owned businesses, and they sometimes come to us. And we try and make sure that we highlight and get as many women as we can in there. that's humanly and financially possible for us. So that's how it works. And many of these women, when we started doing this, some of these women, it was a couple of years ago, we started it with Women Grow, and then we did it on our own. Because Women Grow has a lot of different projects that they work on, but they're still a part of our world and our platform in many ways. But what happens here is many of these women actually are very successful after our show. Some of them, and I can tell you, many of them had products that wound up in dispensaries immediately right after our 2021 show and 2022 show. That to me is the biggest thanks that I can get, the biggest payback for me personally, for our team personally, for the sponsors, and also for the industry. It shows that there is support there for a very important element of entrepreneurship and innovation. So that's the whole zen behind it. We had great participants this time around, and some of these women, some of these companies, some of these female entrepreneurs actually do fund their way into the women's pavilion, but we make it possible in many ways. There was the Other Side dispensary that came. There's a New Jersey dispensary with Dr. Eliza Brizard Rodriguez.
I love her.
She brought
Fabulous.
She brought the newborn. We had a new advocate. So
yeah.
But she's also opening up a consumption lounge soon in New Jersey.
It's amazing.
A veteran. She was in the war, in the military. So like we really feel that this highlights more than just female entrepreneurship. It highlights a lot of different backgrounds. You got to give it up for the women. They really go we're everywhere, and we do everything, and it's very indicative of our entrepreneurs that are in the women's pavilion. They're business people. They're everything. They're business people. They're moms. They're sisters. They're daughters. They're veterans. They're war veterans. They're everything. They're politicians. This is an enormous statement. Just the fact that they're part of it.
Yeah.
We had so many. I could go on.
Yeah, no, there was High Exposure that was there with Cassia Graham and Annette Fernandez and Amy Chin, they had a great booth. They had like a whole video set up. That was a lot of fun. Also, there was Happy Hounds, which is CBD pet products, which, listen, if anybody has a pet around 4th of July, check out Happy Hounds to give your furry friend, your fur child, a little calm before the fireworks storm. So
what pets and Let Mom Sleep was another nice company that was in there. I mean, it's just in the high. There's the
High Fired.
The High Fired, and then
there were so many that we can't even shout them all out.
Yeah, I know. But there were returning ones as well, which is really
like I said, Her Highness, and then of course the Canadiva. I mean, we cannot have a conference in New York City without Tanya Osborne and the Canadivas.
Tanya's one of the, she's a cannabis veteran. She's an old reliable, a Loyola. She's just really she's a friend of mine personally and Mary's and of the expo. I know she's an industry icon. She's kind of, just somebody that's another go-to person in this industry that helps all the time and is knowledgeable and does the work. She shows up and does the work.
Yeah, I'm gonna smoke to that.
I don't have anything.
That's okay. This is my CBD vape. So for during the day, because I don't always like to consume during the day, but sometimes I want something, but not necessarily THC. So CBD it is for this girl. Okay. And speaking again of more women, I have a few favorites of the whole conference. I really enjoyed the fireside chat. I loved the industry update. That was all really great. The women's luncheon was so amazing. And thank you so much for the opportunity to host it. And thank you to Dawn Morris from Proteus 420 for being our sponsor. We had so many amazing women. We had Gia Moran. We had Brittany Tintalo. We had, who am I missing?
Dr.
Dr. Eliza. And then who else? I'm missing somebody. Dawn.
Sarah Gullickson.
Yes. And so
This advisors, and she handled our dispensary workshop, which was fabulous. The feedback on that was just enormous as well.
A lot of people are still buzzing about that. Shout out to Sarah, because that was really great. And we just had a wonderful time breaking bread, networking, talking about, critical things for women in the industry. And when we set the women off onto the showroom floor, the elevation of the energy was absolutely electric. It was like lightning had hit the showroom floor, and these women were glowing and they were full of electricity, and they really ignited, the essence of cannabis. And it just goes to show how powerful women are, and how powerful women are together. And it was really great, Christine, after the luncheon, which was so fun and so nice. The women were on the floor walking past each other, like pointing at each other and smiling and be like, hey girl, yes girl, yes queen. And I think, having this was like a new addition to the conference. Our 10th anniversary conference was really, really special. We had so many amazing features, Josh Kesselman from Raw, so many, Chair Wright, of course. And also there was another legislator, a new woman. Can you remind me her name?
Yes, Chelsea Davis. She works for the governor. She's in the executive chamber as the cannabis. She's the assistant she's the executive deputy of cannabis, for cannabis. It's a long title, but it was her first major platform that she spoke at. She also highlighted many of the changes to come and many of the work ahead that needs to happen to reshape New York State's cannabis industry, and how committed the governor and the office are to doing that. And you can see that it really did take shape after that conference. After our whole conference, the governor appointed 3 new, as you called resources earlier, she appointed 3 new executive people in the ranks. One was Felicia Reed. I think she's replacing she's going to become the executive director of the OCM. I think she was serving as a deputy director at one point there, pretty much. So she's pretty experienced at what's going on there. There was Jessica Wolford. I think she is now a director for what is it? It's let me see. So we want to wish all these people good luck. Director of External Affairs.
Yeah.
Jessica Wolford. And she actually came to the conference with Chelsea Davis. She actually was attending. I know they were there probably both days, not just when Chelsea was speaking. I know Jessica was there when Chair Wright was there. But in any event, this is really good things. These are great things. One other person that the governor appointed, Susan Filburn, as chief officer. So there's now, as you say, there's some resources. There's shoring up of what's happening there. And I think we all have to be patient. But I think it's going to be swift. What they're working on is going to be swift when it comes to the cannabis industry. The rewards for New York State, and I say this as a business owner, as a producer, as an organizer that's been in this for 10 years across different events across the United States in different markets. I must tell you and tell everyone who's listening to this, we have to be patient. But this will be swift. I can see with the changes that happened after the conference. June isn't even over yet. The governor is very serious about this, and it's based on the actions that the governor has taken, based on the governor's executives that came out to support the industry and came out to evangelize what's happening and to address people in the industry. We've got to be patient, and we've got to stick in and pull this out, do it together.
Yeah.
And that's really, the message, the post our conference and expo. This is where the optimism comes from. It comes from the business people on the floor, the attendees, those entrepreneurs that want to get into the business, those licensees who now can figure out, I got to get funding to open my shop. I've got to figure this out. I got to stick into this. The whole rescheduling process. I mean, we've got to put our comments in. We've got to get our commentary in. Don't wait. Get it in. It's a period that's going to come to an end in July. We've got to everybody's got to put their commentary in there. And there's nothing wrong with asking about descheduling and demanding descheduling while we're commenting on rescheduling from.
I agree.
So, we shouldn't forget about that. And so, the other thing that I think came out of a lot of this, and there was changes in the laws and the regulations for grow at home in New York State. This was very important stuff. They addressed it at the conference, that there was going to be more of that. And we've addressed this many times in our content, in our website and in our newsletters and in just about anywhere we can. We are, a tool. Our conference can be used as tool. Our workshops can be used as tools to dive off and launch a business and to enhance your business, to expand your business. We had a workshop on grow, on
Cultivation.
That's right, on cultivation. So, and that was so well received. That was actually moderated and headed up by David Fetner of Grow America. He was fabulous. I have to tell you, he really did a wonderful job, and all the speakers in there did a wonderful job. So, so since the conference, a lot's happened. We just don't put the gear shift in neutral. I think everybody's coming out ready, willing, and able, and they're just making the tide go their way. And I think New York State is right there with them. I think New Jersey is also expanding. Pennsylvania's coming to the party now. They are looking at Ohio and they're saying, hey, Ohio, we're going to open up too. We're going to have cannabis too. And now all of a sudden, Pennsylvania's waking up. And I would like to think that it's these live events. It's what we produce, what we organize, what podcasts like yours that talk about business, that bring in the mainstream ideas and bring in the veteran cannabis business folks. This is what's really making people take notice and making change.
That's so well said, Christine. And before we wrap this up, I just want to shout out some other kind of like groundbreaking panels that we had. We had the psychedelics panel that Gaetano moderated, which was absolutely fantastic. I had the honor of being on that panel as a huge advocate for psilocybin and other psychedelics for wellness and mental health. And then we also had the OGs and OQs, the OQs, original queens, which you coined, Christine. These were some groundbreaking panels that we had that really helped, us see not just what we did in the past on the OGs and OQs, the legendary people that have kind of been on the forefront of cannabis before it was legal, but also in psychedelics, as we see plant medicine just becoming, something that people really want. It's not just about pharmaceuticals. People are looking for alternative health, for wellness, for mental health. So I really want to shout out the conference for being, in leaders and in the forefront of cannabis and plant medicine wellness, but also for honoring the legacy, that and the OGs and OQs panel was packed. We honored a few legacy people that were in the audience, and that was really just absolutely amazing. And I really am grateful that we are able to, take our ecosystem a little bit wider. So, Christine, last question as we wrap it up. What's next for the CWCB Expo?
So we have a whole palette full of ideas right now that we're looking at. The landscape is looking very good and very clear for us to continue to build the industry, to help make change, and to highlight people like the legacy, the OGs and the OQs. By the way, the OQs, I believe that came from Sherry Tarr, the OQ. It's just original Q.
Shout out Sherry.
That's Sherry Tarr. Got to give it to her. But I think we can continue to highlight all of these people, all of the business owners, so that we can make the change. So in 2020, the remaining 2024 and 2025 to come, we're going to continue to grow this industry in ways that might be innovative, right? They might be different than a face-to-face live event, but we, in fact, will be doing a lot more, we hope, on including more people and continuing to grow it. I will tell you that the anticipation for our 2025 show at Javits is enormous right now. It's just, it's through the roof. And it's even through the roof with those who are not even in the cannabis space. They're now like looking in through the glass. So that's a good sign. So that's what we want to continue to do. Shout out before we go, KymB. Shout out to you. You did a great job. You were such a key element of planning our expo this year and our conference. Also to Nichelle Santos. She was just enormous. She was from the CEO and co-founder of Canada Coverage. She was just a fabulous piece of the puzzle for us to put a great conference together. That she did a nice panel. She was moderating the medicine. The politics and medicine of cannabis. That was a huge panel, and it had some of the best experts in New Jersey and New York and across the nation. It was a really great panel. We had our own Ken Weinberg on there. He was one of our advisors. He's like, just so happy that he was part of it and that we included the whole medical cannabis, because now with rescheduling, that's coming back, in a big way. So anyway, just shout outs to everyone there that, and if I know I'm missing people, but I'm sorry. So.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Christine. Let's smoke up to the CWCB Expo. We're looking forward to all of the things, and we'll definitely be looking forward to 2025.
Yes, right. That's right. And I want to just thank you for everything. And I'm looking forward to that wrap up you did with Jason Tantalo. And I really want to look forward to that. And Brittany Tantalo was great. NICRA was a big part of our show.
The after party was lit. There was 1,000 people.
I didn't make
1,000 people, Christine.
Oh God,
it was wild, but they did a great job, and we're really lucky.
Yes. So I just want to say thanks to Brittany. She is a mover and a shaker, and so's Jason. And thanks to them, we got Chelsea Davis to come to our platform, and we hope that NICRA has benefited from being with us too, and that we do more things together. And we love Tribe Tokes. We love you, and all the best.
Thank you so much. This is KymB and Christine highest in the room, signing off.